Welcome to the One Piece Vlogs again, Geek BAH Brent here, to bring you the Logue Town arc. The Logue Town arc is an interesting one. It's basically one of the last steps before the Grand Line. Logue Town is the town of the beginning and the end. Now this arc starts out with actually a little backstory for Zoro, showing how when he was a kid, he challenged this dojo and failed, and ended up basically becoming rivals, but also sort of friends with the dojo leader's daughter, Kuina. And when she dies, it really has an impact on him, and that's when he decides he wants to become the greatest swordsman in the world. It's a very, very good backstory, and it's done so well. It's so emotional. Now, afterwards, they go to Logue Town, the town of the beginning and the end, where Gold Roger, the Pirate King, was born and executed. While there, we meet an eclectic amount of characters, and including the return of Buggy the Clown and his crew, as well as their new crew member, Alvida. Yeah, the same Alvida from before, who basically had Kobe working for her, and now she ate a devil fruit, which allowed basically her to become really beautiful and skinny, as she always basically saw herself anyways. Even though she doesn't consider her looks to have changed, because that's how she saw herself before. But she has the added ability that everything just slips off her body now. Punches, knives, whatever, it will just slip off. It's a weird fruit, but I don't see it really becoming a huge deal. So we have those, but we have some new characters as well. We have Captain Smoker of the Marines, who is by far my favorite Marine character. He's this really tough Marine. He almost has a look like to him that screams out German, but not in a bad way. He's like this really tough guy, but then there's this one scene that really makes you love him. This little girl with an ice cream cone runs into him, spills her ice cream all over his pants. He gives her this almost like glaring look, but then he says, in the calm tone, "I'm sorry, it appears my pants ate your ice cream." And then he gives her some money for even more ice cream. And it's just great. He shows he's a good guy. And that he's in the Marine. He's not a corrupt Marine like Captain Morgan was. And that's a good thing to see. Because it's such a different thing. When you see the Marines before, you see Captain Morgan, he's this corrupt, evil guy. And when you see Smoker now, he's just doing what he's supposed to do. He's dedicated to justice and all. Well, there's also Tashigi, who I believe is his lieutenant. Tashigi is a bit of a ditzy, clumsy girl, but she's a master swordsman, and she loves swords so much she basically studies them. There's a scene where she meets Zoro in a sword shop after they'd already encountered each other before. And Zoro is basically testing out this cursed sword. He throws it in the air and holds his arm out and says he's testing his luck against the cursed sword. It's coming down, she's freaking out, and it passes right by his arm in the most badass of ways. And that's when he decides to get it, because his swords had been broken before, so he needed new ones. Well, at Logue Town, we also see a few sort of filler type things, but they're good. Like we see Usopp take part in this little contest with a former Marine and current bounty hunter named Daddy. And they basically have this big battle, and Usopp cowers out. But Usopp really learns a lot here, and he learns more about how to be brave and honorable. And it's a really great part. And then you see Sanji take part in a cooking contest to win a blue-finned elephant's tuna, or whatever it was called. And it's a fun part. It's not really important. And obviously you see Luffy take on Buggy and Alvida and almost lose until Buggy gets struck by lightning. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. And Luffy also takes on Smoker. And then there's other stuff, like there's a little bit, you learn a little more about Gold Roger and all, about his attitude, how he actually seems to be a lot like how Luffy is. And that's really interesting. The Logue Town arc isn't a big arc, it's not meant to be. It's sort of like it's sort of like a passing arc. It's sort of like one that ushers from that big Arlong Park arc into the future. Now, the Loguetown arc does introduce some good characters who make returns, like Smoker, and it does have some very important parts, though. And there's this one part at the end when they're trying to escape. Smoker is about to basically take out Luffy, when all of a sudden Luffy is saved by this man in a green cloak who summons up like this green storm. And Smoker refers to this man as Dragon. Now, he's a very big character coming up into the future, and you'll see why when it explains more about him. For right now, I've seen the series, obviously. For right now, all I can say is that he's very big, and there's a reason he saved Luffy. Now, as they leave Loguetown, like I said, there's not a lot left about this arc. It's just not that big of a deal. It's more like I said, it's more like a way to transition into the next thing. Ooh, transition, I like that. Yeah, a transitional arc, not a passing arc. But you get the point. So there's not really much of anything else to say about this arc. It's a great one, and I recommend you check it out, just like with anyone. So I'll see you again for the next one. Take care.